Hello students, welcome to the next session of Daily News Analysis. I am Anil Tiwari and I will be presenting today's newspapers. So from the Hindu and the Indian Express, we have selected 5 articles, 4 for your prelims perspective. Your prelims is approaching and they are important for your prelims preparations. And then next article is for mains. The 4 articles in the prelims section are as follows. Number 1, we will be covering the great news, the wonderful news for India that we have discovered, or let's say brought out 2 new varieties genetically edited of rice. They will be key for our next green revolution as said by our agriculture minister Mr. Shivraj Singh Chauhan. That will be our first article. Second article will be on Kaleshwaram Project. It has run into a lot of troubles, a lot of big statements have been made. For us, it is important to know on which river and what kind of system is this and what kind of issues it is facing. The third article will be on Indigenous Cow Breeds. Indian Express has this article, and very important that we understand what are the varieties of cows we have, what are the different hybridized varieties we have, and what kind of productivity we have regarding milk. So that we will see. In the fourth, we will have an article on the Arctic, and we will be discussing the location and the treaty, the Arctic Treaty. UPSC has been interested in that, and it is very important that we see the strategic development of the new route in the sea. At the end, we will have a mains perspective on an article on NGOs, a really good article on the history of funding of NGOs and everything. So we will be discussing that. We will have practice questions, so submit your answers in the comment section. We will also have a PDF for you to download. You can download that and have a great session. So let's start with our today's discussion. So the first article is very interesting and a proud moment for Indian scientific community. The Indian Council of Agriculture Research and its 2 institutes, one from Delhi and one from Hyderabad, they have come out with 2 new varieties of gene edited rice. These 2 varieties are more resilient to climate change. They are more resilient to sudden change in, let's say, irrigation requirements of water and other things. Apart from that, they are showing a better productivity and everything. So with one stroke, we have done 2 things. That one, we have improved the productivity of these 2 strains. Secondly, we have achieved that these 2 rice are not genetically modified crops. So this is very important because see, if we create genetically modified crops, then there is going to be a lot of issues, more stringent mechanisms that we have to go through to approve genetically modified crops. You and I both know, and India, we take this very seriously. But these are very different. I'll explain it to you okay, how these 2 rice varieties are different from GM crops. So the news is this, and it will come in your GS paper 3, Science and Technology and Agriculture. All right. So one thing that we can claim is that we are the first country to release rice variety using the genome editing procedure, and this is very huge because so far genetically modified crops have been there, but not gene edited crops. Let's say at least gene edited rice varieties were not there as claimed by the various sources, particularly All India Radio. It covered that we are the first country. Okay, so the important part is that these varieties do not have any foreign DNA. That's very important. We have not introduced any foreign DNA into this rice variety. Earlier, if you have heard that we have BT cotton. This BT cotton has a soil bacteria's genes in order for it to become resistance. So BT cotton had foreign genes. Then UPSC has asked question on mustard, GM mustard. This also had foreign DNA, but these rice variety do not. So what are these rice varieties? Names are very important. The first one, remember, DRR, Dhan 100 or Kamala. So this will be important. Second is Pusa, PUSA, DST rice 1. Okay, these two varieties are there, remember the name. Then remember who developed them. So in general, you remember that ICAR has developed it, Indian Council of Agricultural Research has developed it, but specific institutes are also there. These institutes are Indian Institute of Rice Research, ICAR, IIRR, Hyderabad, and ICAR, Indian Agriculture Research Institute, New Delhi. Okay, so these two institutes you remember, two important facts. Now understand a little bit what differences we have brought into these two varieties. First and foremost, the original variety. So we have Samba Masuri. Okay, this is very premium quality rice which have good taste and everything. But there are issues. For example, it has moderate yield, 4 to 5 tons per hectare. For context, I will say around 7,000 tons plus productivity is there with China. So this is producing 4 to 5 tons per hectare. So the productivity is almost half. Okay. Secondly, it is saying that 145 to 50 days maturation period is there. A longer period of time it takes to get developed. And incomplete panicle emergence and vulnerability to pest, disease and climate stress. Meaning that this variety had certain issues. Okay. The name is Samba Masuri. Then the second variety is M2U 1010. It also it had higher yield and early duration as opposed to Samba Masuri, but it was being affected by sensitivity towards drought and soil salinity. You know that because of a lot of irrigation, over irrigation in India, we are facing soil salinity, and that may impact the overall productivity and production of this variety also. So both of them have been targeted in order to generate a variety that is better at these factors. So now we have targeted in the DRR Dhan 100 Kamala, we have targeted cytokinin oxidase 2. Not so important to remember, but remember that we have targeted this gene, particular gene to increase grain numbers per panicle using the SDN genome editing approach. Now here is a word that is very important for you, that is SDN, site directed nuclease technique. Okay, in this also we have used this same technology that is called site directed nuclease, and we have made it drought and salt tolerance gene, and then improved the basically plant's resilience. This is the technique that we have used. What are the benefits that we are getting? We are getting higher yields, we are getting better stress towards these stressful conditions, both of them we are getting, and on top of that we are getting greenhouse gas emission reduction when both 20% less in this Pusa DST rice. So both of them achieved environmental betterment and productivity also. They have improved productivity also. That is a really good news, because what we can do is we can grow them faster, we can grow them better, they will be producing more better result, and they will be more resilient. So the upcoming climate change, the non-availability of water and all these other stresses, they can help us out to ensure food security and food safety. Okay, food security. Now a little bit about all these organizations, all these techniques mentioned in this news. So this has been going on since 2018, because it takes a lot of time to develop a new variety. So 2018 there was this National Agriculture Science Fund from which ICAR was developing these varieties. Further, it is also developing certain other crops also. I will discuss them later on. But very important that you understand that all these things are regulated by India, because we are signatory to the Cartagena Protocol. What is this Cartagena Protocol? Cartagena Protocol relates to the genetically modified crops or genetically sensitive crops, their handling, their export, their import, their development and spread. All these things are basically agreed upon in the Cartagena Protocol. Always remember, there is a trick. Remember, there is a cart that has genetic content in it. You can remember there is a yellow sign, hazard sign is there, there is a cart. So Cartagena, gene, or you can remember gene say genetic, you can remember like that also. Okay, so this has been approved by Indian institutes. We will discuss what are the different institutes. But you remember that this 1986-1989 rules are there. EPA is there, Environment Protection Act is there, under which we have these rules to regulate all these crops. Okay, the important development that is regarding this crop is that they have been using site directed nuclease 1, site directed nuclease 2 techniques. Why they have used these two techniques, or these two names are so important? Because these two techniques do not require higher level of scrutiny, मीनिंग दैट जल्दी से आप नई वैरायटी पैदा कर सकते हो क्योंकि ये सेफर है. अब कैसे सेफ हैं वो जानना बड़ा ज़रूरी है. जानना इसलिए ज़रूरी है क्योंकि अक्सर हमने सुना है कि जेनेटिकली मॉडिफाइड क्रॉप्स तो बड़ी खतरनाक होती हैं, बड़ी डेंजरस होती हैं, बट ये कैसे आसान हो गई? तो टेक्निक में राज छुपा हुआ है. देखिए, नेचुरली आपको पता है, नेचुरली प्लांट्स गो थ्रू म्यूटेशंस. हाइब्रिडाइजेशन तो होता ही है. देर आर क्रॉस ब्रीडिंग्स. Two plants are interacting because of bees, maybe other methods. They are exchanging genetic content and mutations take place. We do not see any foreign genetic content getting into any plant variety. That we do not see. But what humans were trying to do? Humans were trying to do to incorporate outside genetic content into the plant variety. That's where the trick is. So there are three techniques. SDN1, SDN2, SDN3. SDN3 is the genetically modified crops. What we do in SDN3? Your typical genetic editing. That we will take a gene. Remember, we will take a gene. Gene is a DNA sequence that codes for protein. Always remember, DNA sequence that code for a protein is called gene. So we will take a gene and we will incorporate into a plant. That's SDN3 and it is highly regulated. बट देर आर SDN1 and 2. SDN1 में हम क्या करते हैं? हम कुछ नहीं करते, बस हम एक ट्रिगर करते हैं कि प्लांट के अंदर का जो जेनेटिक मटेरियल है वो अपने आप को करेक्ट कर ले. कुछ प्रॉब्लम्स है, हमें किसी डायरेक्शन में प्रॉब्लम करेक्ट करवाना है, वो अपने ही जेनेटिक कंटेंट में चेंज कर ले. इट्स लाइक आई एम कमिंग टू योर हाउस and telling that okay, study well, and I change your own study room in a way that okay, put the study table somewhere else, you sit this way, bed you should not be there in your room, bed should be outside, so on and so forth. I will not bring in anything from outside, I will only change your own room. Okay, so this is SDN1, changing the plant's own variety, and they are just similar to the naturally occurring plant varieties. SDN2 क्या है फिर? SDN2 में slightly change है. Now imagine I come up with a plan of a room, a template that okay, this is how a study room should look, and then arrange your room in that manner only, in that fashion only. So that will be SDN2, meaning that I will send a template. On that template the correction will take place in the genetic content. Remember, our bodies have good defense systems. In that defense system, there is one system that is called DNA repair, mutagenesis. Mutagenesis is a process through which DNA repair takes place. From that DNA repair only we are correcting all these two things. That own system is utilized to change the genetic content. I think this makes it very clear that we change the DNA. If the DNA is changed within, then it is SDN1 and SDN2. But if we introduce outside DNA, then it is SDN3. SDN3 is highly regulated, SDN1 and 2 are slightly less regulated. Specifically speaking, that 7 to 13, this 7 to 11 of EPA Act are not applied on SDN1 and 2. This is very important. Got it? These two rice crops have been generated using SDN1. What are the different technologies to edit these genetic content? So CRISPR पे बहुत सारे क्वेश्चन यूपीएससी ने पूछे हैं. CRISPR is one of the technologies. Okay. The other technologies that you should remember that UPSC might be interested, it is called SDN. That SDN is the overall term. So I will make a Venn diagram. So SDN is this. In SDN we have this CRISPR, then we have zinc finger, ZNF. Always remember zinc finger nuclease. So this is the second technique, and then we have this TALEN, TALEN. Okay, there are three techniques that have been mentioned in this regulation. regulation itself, they have mentioned these 3 techniques. Remember, these 2 are less efficient, more costly. CRISPR is more efficient, less costly, easy to do, and very popular. Why it is so? I will tell you one more detail. If you can remember it. CRISPR uses DNA RNA interaction. So you want to change DNA. But if your method is not based on DNA, then it will be difficult to do it. CRISPR is easy because it is using DNA-DNA interaction, DNA-RNA interaction. What this ZNF and TALEN is doing? Protein-DNA interaction, protein-RNA interaction. That's why they are tough to make. Understood? So these 3 methods are there mentioned in this. I have explained it to you. SDN 1, 2, 3 explained. What are the regulations? That is explained. And also we are trying to bring up new oil seeds and pulses also through this method. And we have already allocated 500 crore for this. Why this paddy is important? You can understand. Paddy is very important crop for India. Around 1/3 of the whole entire area under food grain crop comes under paddy. 40% of the country's food grain basket is from rice, and there are many states that are completely dependent on this cultivation, rice cultivation, and we also have that low productivity issue. See here, we have world average on 4700. For us, it is 4138 kg per million hectare. China, it is 7000 kg per hectare, and Bangladesh is 4800 kg per hectare. We need to push up this productivity. That's why this is very, very critical. Okay. There are certain bodies that work for this DNA business. They review it, they oversee it, they correct the mistakes, they have various protocols if anything goes wrong. They also recommend things. They also study all around the world to establish good standards. Because see, meddling with genetic content is very risky. So we must have strong institutional capacity. So from district level till central level, and in each and every institution we have these bodies. So see through that we have district level committees, we have state biotechnology coordination committee. You can understand how they will be functioning. They will be overlooking their area of jurisdiction. For what? For genetically modified organisms and their safety. Then we have GEAC, the big OG GEAC. This is a big body that implements everything on a larger scale. It gives nods for environmental clearances and many other things. This is the big body. Nothing goes outside its purview regarding genetically modified crops. Then we have this review committee on genetic manipulations. Basically, this committee looks after review. The initial step is taken by the institutional biosafety committee. So if there is a college nearby you, if they are doing genetically modified organisms, they will have this committee. Every institute will have this committee. They will give approval, and then this review committee will give the final approval, as given in 2023. Then we have this recombinant DNA advisory committee. This is like IPCC, the bigger organization that is doing all the research and analysis. So they will study all different programs all around the world, and they will give recommendation for safety and everything. They come under DBT. This also comes under DBT. Alright, GEAC comes under Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, and these are subservient bodies to these bigger bodies. Now, if we have discussed this, let's attempt this question. Submit your answer in the comment section. This is very important for your prelims. We will jump to the next article. Alright, so the second article relates to the big dreamy project at Kaleshwaram in Telangana. So the latest report that has come out of this project is that there have been lack of oversight, there have been lack of proper design, and that has led to some irreparable damages to this project. Although this issue have become a lot of politicized, and it was a great project when it comes to trying to irrigate and cultivate upper areas of that region. Because there was lack of water, and those areas were considered uncultivable. So what was envisaged is that we have surplus water during particular months in a particular area, specifically the Godavari, Pranahita, and all these rivers were confluencing at one place. So they thought that okay, we can collect water from here, and then we can pump this water up, and then we can have a canal system. So that was the overall idea behind this project, but there have been some irregularities. There is a report done by National Statutory Body which looks after the dam safety, that is National Dam Safety Authority, that has been led to a lot of uproar in the political arena, but that is not of our interest. Our interest is to study about this project and see what went wrong and what are the different rivers that we were using, what is the location of this project. So first and foremost, the NDSA report. NDSA report says that irreparable damage has taken place, and it is also saying that there are a few reasons. It says that lack of proper geotechnical investigation were not there, and then design deficiencies, construction defects, quality maintenance, modeling studies, structural distress, and all these things, operational maintenance failures took place, and dam safety aspects were ignored. So all this led to this irreparable damages according to this report. What is this Kaleshwaram project? This is a lift irrigation project. As I explained earlier, we are lifting water. Usually dams rely on gravity, meaning that they will be built at a higher place. We will store the water and then we will release the water using the gravity. Here we are not doing that. What we are doing is we are collecting water, pumping it up around 600-700 meters on a higher point, and then we will release. So this pumping of this much water, this requires a lot of infrastructure, and when we were pumping this water and depositing in different reservoirs, we filled them over their capacity at certain point, because of various news reports are saying this, that certain reservoirs were pumped too much water, and obviously that will lead to some structural damages, and those structural damages are causing problems now. And we have also run cost overruns are there, that the project were meant to be around 80,000 crore, now it is beyond 2 lakh crore. So project also ran its allocated funds. So this is the development, and this project is supposed to be the world largest multi-stage lift irrigation project, one of the world largest, and the rivers like Pranahita, Godavari, all these tributaries like Venganga, Vardha, Penganga, all these rivers were making a great basically zone, drainage basin. In this drainage basin we were trying to collect some water and then send it to this project. So it was starting at a very important location for you, Madigadda Barrage. So we have one point where Pranahita and Kaveri meets. There is a point where these two rivers meet. From there we had built a barrage that is called Madigadda Barrage. From there the majority of water was supposed to come. Apart from this, we were having some remember, we were extracting some groundwater also. We were having waters from different other locations also. So we were collecting all this water and then sending it to up. So we had these different barrages, Madigadda, Anaram, and then Sundila. These 2-3 barrages were there, and there were around 13-14 districts that will be affected by, or let's say that will be benefiting. So Nizamabad, Karimnagar, Warangal, Siddipet, Medak, Mahbubnagar, Nalgonda, and Rangareddy. All these districts were getting benefited out of it, and we built some reservoirs also. Remember these names. These reservoirs are Mallana Sagar. So this is the topmost reservoir, that is Mallana Sagar. So this Mallana Sagar will release further down through the canals. Then we have Konda Pochamma Sagar, then we have Konda Pochamma Sagar, then we have Ranganayaka Sagar and Midmaner. Midmaner is in between reservoir is there. So we will look at how this was happening. So this is the brief map that okay, initial lift will be done. Madigadda se karenge. Majority of water will come from here. Then we have second phase. This is Annaram and then Sundila. And then we have Midmaner, then Mallan Sagar, and then it will go to another reservoir that is called Konda Pocham. So from there we will release this water. There we will release this water. So Konda Pocham, this will be the reservoir that finally will release the water. Okay. So this is basics about this project. What is this Godavari river? So this is India's second largest river basin, and it is also a perennial river. It has a lot of water during October to maybe August to October, in that period when monsoon is there, and it has major tributaries. So tributaries are very important, that you remember: Pranahita, Indravati, Sabari, Pravara, Manjira. So there is, I have given you a list, left wing tributary and right wing tributary. Try to memorize it because UPSC is very interested in it. So Dharna, Pranahita, Pench, Kanhan, Saveri, Indravati. Then we have Pravara, Mula, Manjara, Pedavagu and Maner. These rivers are from right wing. So it starts from, remember, Trimbakeshwar in Nasik district, and then it goes to the Bay of Bengal, passes through Bhadrachalam, very important. Remember, UPSC may ask question, Nanded. Why Nanded is known? It is related to Sikhism. Remember, why Nanded is known? Pathan is there. Okay, all these things you have to memorize. The length of the river is around 1500 kilometers. Okay. Further, what are these lift irrigation projects? Very simply understand, we are pumping water. That's it. Nothing more. There can be multiple pumps. For example, let's say you live on a 10th floor. There are 3 pumps. One will pump up until 3rd floor, then 4th floor, and then 10th floor. So this is lift irrigation. There can be one and there can be multiple. And you will collect water from a source, then we will pump it, then we will transport it, and then we will distribute it. That's how it will go. But there are issues that have come up. There are 4 issues that I have mentioned. One was structural issue. The Medigadda piers were damaged. Then we have environmental clearance. NGT criticized that you got ex post facto clearances. Then we have cost overruns. 80,000 crore से 1.2 lakh crore हो गया. High operational cost है due to energy consumption. So 1.2 lakh crore के आसपास ये चला गया. 1.2 lakh crore के आसपास चला गया. And NGT ने भी criticize किया. After discussing this, please try and attempt this question. This is based on rivers around this time. Okay, we will jump to the next article. Alright, so the next article is regarding the indigenous bovine varieties or this breeds. These breeds are very important for India's milk production and milk exports and consumption. We all have known that India is one of the largest consumers of milk and one of the largest producer or the largest producer of milk, but we do not export a lot. Okay, we also do not have high productive milk production. So I'll tell you an interesting fact. So you know the country New Zealand. How much big do you think New Zealand is when it compares to India? It's insignificant. If you see the population, if you see the area and everything, New Zealand is nowhere. But New Zealand is one of the largest exporter of milk products, dairy based products. India is not. India is not even there to compete New Zealand. So there are certain issues which plague the Indian dairy industry. Today we will not be looking at the overall picture of it. We will be looking at very specific issue, that is the breeds, the different kinds of breeds, and then what are the challenges regarding development of new breeds, and what are the other challenges that Indian dairy industry faces. And then we will come up to the overall understanding, and then we will see Gokul mission, and then we will conclude. So relevance will be GS3, economy of animal rearing, and then the backdrop will be indigenous cow breed consumption and its issues. So if we go by slowly, then we will see that from this article we can understand that there is a thing called restricted list. This list basically contains things which we cannot let's say export. So in that list, these farmers mentioned in this article, they are saying that the germ plasm, that is the genetic material, or let's say the material like semen and embryos, these two things are not allowed to be exported to other countries. But as a matter of fact, there is a lot of demand from India for these. Why? Because in India we have a lot of diversity when it comes to cattle, but when it comes to very organized sector in the other countries, the diversity is very less. So inbreeding takes place. So outside inbreeding is taking place. So they are demanding that we incorporate, or let's say invite outside semen and let's say embryo to generate a better quality breed. I'll tell you an interesting fact. Around 80% of Brazil's milk, 80% of Brazil milk comes from Girolando dairy cattle breed. This is nothing but a hybrid between Gir cattle and the HF cattle from Netherlands. So 80% दूध ब्राज़ील का पैदा होता है एक वैरायटी से जिसमें एक वेराइटी, एक बुल जो गया था वो इंडिया से गया था. द गिर itself came from the bull named Krishna who belonged to Krishna Kumar Singh Ji Gohil, the erstwhile Maharaja of Bhavnagar, now in Gujarat, who gifted the Brazilian cattle breeder this to Celso Garcia said in the 1960s. So very important that we share this germplasm with the other countries, but this is not allowed. Why it is important? Because farmers income is important. So farmers in this article saying that we can earn a lot of money by supplying this to the other countries. So the following countries are mentioned. There is a huge demand. Okay, why in India the indigenous breed is also yielding less than outside. So for example, around 1500 to 2000 kg per for Kankres. Red Sindhi produces and Tharparkar produces around 2000 kg, and then Gir produces around 2500 kg or more, and Sahiwal and Gir are on the similar lines, but others are below 1000. So we have a less. I'll show you to a contrast how much the western breed produces. So a little bit about milk production in India. So around 240 million tons, 240 million tons of milk we have produced in 2023-24. Remember, for your prelims it might be asked, and the growth is such that 2014-15 we were having only around 146.3 million tons. Then in 2023, 2022, 2023 we had around 230. Now we have 240. So we are growing constantly. Then India is at the top in milk production globally and second in the egg production, because usually people see milk and egg all together. So Uttar Pradesh, state wise, if you see, this graph will be very important. Uttar Pradesh is producing around 17-16%, 14% from Rajasthan, 9% के आसपास मध्य प्रदेश से, then Gujarat 7.65% and Maharashtra 6%. So that the milk producing state are UP, Rajasthan, MP, Gujarat and Maharashtra. Okay, so you can remember by URMGM. You can remember by that URMGM. You can remember by that trick. Okay. Then we produce around 25% of the global milk, but we do not export. That is the biggest issue with India. Then the dairy industry will employ more than 80 million people by 23-24. Remember, so many people are employed also. This production we have read already, 239 hoga ye. And then according to the export data, we only export around 63,000 metric ton, and that comes around 272.64 million. Now look at the exports of New Zealand. It is around $7 billion. You know that 1000 million equals 1 billion. See what's the difference between New Zealand and India. That is the biggest issue. For us, the export destinations are UAE, Saudi Arabia, the USA, Singapore and Bhutan. For world, the major exporters are New Zealand, Germany, US and the Netherlands and Belgium. Okay, so remember these facts, very important for your prelims perspective. Then we have different varieties. Let us look at very quickly what are the different varieties. You must have heard about them. We have this Gir. This is the same for the Brazil. Then we have Sahiwal. This is one of the best milk animal for India. Around 1800 to 2500 का produce करती है ये सबसे important है साहिवाल. Then we have Gir. Then we have Red Sindhi, Lal Kandari, Rathi, Tharparkar. All these varieties are there. Remember the name of the states also. Okay. Then we have this drought breed, strong for field work and disease resistant but less milk. For example, we have Amrit Mahal, we have Kangayam, we have Hallikar, Malvi and Nagori. Very good for ideal. You have heard of Nagori tea? You have heard of Nagori tea? That is the same Nagori. What is the difference between Nagori tea and normal tea? In Nagori tea, we do not put any spices. It might be debatable, but Nagori tea is made out of milk, fresh milk. You do not put any spice in it. Then we have these hybrids, foreign origin cow breeds in India. Not the hybrids. We have foreign origin breeds in India. So what are the foreign origin breeds? We have Holstein, Friesian from Netherlands. Highest milk yield. Look at the milk yield, 6,000 to 10,000 per lactation. What we had, maximum we had around 2000, 2500 के आसपास. तो ये डिफरेंस है. जर्सी का है जो आप सब जानते हो, लोअर मिल्क यील्ड होता है इसका, बट इट इज हैविंग अ हाई फैट amount, better suited for Indian climate. We have brown Swiss 5,000 to 7,000 liter. We have Ayrshire Grancey. All these are there. What are the challenges that we face in dairy sector in India? Very important. There are 4 challenges mentioned, and then we have further explanation. First is low productivity. Second is inadequate infrastructure. Then we have fodder deficit. Then we have poor breed management. So first वाले में हम क्या करते हैं, हमारा जो yield है वो बहुत low है. That is the biggest issue with Indian breeds. Then we have infrastructure का issue. तो food chain, एक तो cold chain अच्छा नहीं है, दूसरा हमारे पास scientific research अच्छा नहीं है, ठीक है. और we have then fodder shortage. So हमारे यहाँ क्या है, rainfall जो है वो बड़े limited period time में होता है, तो green जो fodder होता है that becomes rare. Then we have also cost is also increasing, profitability is in question. Recently you have seen mother dairy has increased prices for its milk. Then we have poor breed management. So scientific awareness नहीं है, and cross breeding और insemination IVF हमारे यहाँ अच्छा नहीं है. Basically AI artificial insemination is not so good. For that only we established this Gokul mission, launched in 2014 by Ministry of Fishery, Animal Husbandry and Dairying. It's a central sponsored scheme. It was to conserve and develop indigenous bovine breeds and enhance milk productivity and farmer income overall. Key objectives were to genetically improve the native breeds like Gir, Sahiwal and Rathi, promote scientific breeding like artificial insemination, embryo transfer, increase milk yield, disease control and animal health. Improvement budget was given around 2400, but for 2025 में 2025 में we had allocated 1000 crore more for this particular scheme. Initiative taken were Gokul Grams. These are integrated cattle centers. We have E-Pasu Hart, and then we have National Bovine Genomic Centers, breed selective to breeding, basically to breed. Gopal Ratna and Kamdhenu awards were also there. Benefits that we produced more milk, and we also have supported a lot of women, because in cattle rearing a lot of benefit goes to directly to the women. Then we have conserve climate resilient and disease resistant native breeds, हमने थोड़े से conserve किए हैं, and reliance जो है foreign breeds पे थोड़ा सा कम किया है. This is the basic idea, and now based on this discussion, please try and attempt this question. We will jump to the next article. The next article is also very interesting. This is regarding the Arctic. We will discuss both Arctic and Antarctic because that's the cryosphere. We also have Tibetan Plateau and other glaciers, but we will not discuss them today. We will discuss the cryosphere, that is the Arctic and Antarctic. So Arctic, this article has come for India. It is suggesting that India should relook its Arctic outlook. So the backdrop is this: the rising military and geopolitical competition in the Arctic is pushing the narrative changing in the Arctic. It will come in your GS paper 2, international organization and location in news. So Russia, China, US is looking for Canada and Greenland. Russia is looking to waiting for the northern part to thaw away, and it has a different sea route, because you know the great game in the Afghanistan, or let's say in the Crimea, all these areas, they were played so that Russia can have access to a warm water channel. So if the Arctic melts, then Russia will have that. China will also be looking for that. So with all this militarization and climate change and everything, Arctic becomes very important. But there are certain concerns for India, as mentioned by this writer. The writer is saying that northern sea route will reduce the reliability and reliability of the world, or let's say relevance of the Indian ocean routes, and that may lead to some economic damages to India. And it is also saying that the boundaries between the Arctic and the Indo-Pacific will be blurred, and that will be strategically very costly for India. And also Russia-China cooperation will be further enhanced. You know that President of China is visiting Russia for 3-4 days, and we have a very strained situation with China, but Russia is getting very close to China, so that is also an issue. Then we need to do certain change in our approach. What approach this writer is saying that we should change? We should first and foremost institutionalized this Arctic engagement, meaning that we should have proper channels, institutional channel to interact with this area, and we should go beyond and science. We should have a dedicated foreign and defense ministry for Arctic thing, and we should have regular inter-agency consultation also. So basically the writer is saying that science के beyond जाओ. अभी तक हम क्या करते हैं, साइंस ही करने जाते हैं वहाँ पे, थोड़ा सा उसके बियॉन्ड जाओ, इंटर एजेंसी कोऑर्डिनेशन बैठाओ एंड देन ऑल्सो इंस्टीट्यूशनलाइज करो सब चीज़. एंड ऑल्सो इट इज सेइंग दैट लाइक माइंडेड आर्टिक स्टेट को भी हमें थोड़ा सा प्रमोट करना चाहिए और थोड़ा सा इंटरनेट स्पेस का भी इस्तेमाल करना चाहिए आर्कटिक को मॉनिटर करने के लिए. ऑल्सो न्यू आर्कटिक गवर्नेंस जो इमर्ज होके आ रही है, जो नया इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बन रहा है, जो नया काउंसिल बन रहा है, सब कुछ बन रहा है, उसमें एक परमानेंट सीट अगर इंडिया को मिल जाए तो बहुत अच्छी बात होगी. आर्कटिक रीजन के बारे में थोड़ा पढ़ लेते हैं. आर्कटिक रीजन इज वन ऑफ द मोस्ट फ्रेजाइल रीजन्स इन दिस वर्ल्ड बिकॉज it is situated in the northern part. It is fragile because it is frozen, but it goes through a cycle. And recently we have seen, because of after the industrialization, we have seen the rising temperature, and that may be detrimental to this region. What are the countries you can see here? Russia, US, Canada, Greenland, Iceland, Norway, Sweden and Finland. They all come in this Arctic region. What is this? What this region is under control? Who is controlling this region? So this is very important to understand what is the Arctic governance model. So there is this thing called Arctic Council. It is an intergovernmental forum established in 1996 through the Ottawa Declaration to promote cooperation and coordination among the Arctic nations. These are the Arctic nations. इनके बीच में cooperation establish करने के लिए Arctic Council बनाई गई थी. Nobody owns Arctic regions. Okay, but there is this island. This is called this island comes under Norway's jurisdiction. So first and foremost, let us read about Arctic Council. So decision making in the Arctic Council is done on the basis of consensus. How the consensus is formed? That we have member states: Canada, Denmark, Greenland, Finland, Iceland, Norway, Russia, Sweden and the US. These nations possess land territory in the Arctic and have jurisdiction over resources and EEZ. There are permanent participants, 6 indigenous organizations for indigenous people. They are also part of it, and once they agree to it, and then they can take call. ऑब्जर्वर स्टेट जो हैं 13 कंट्रीज हैं. चाइना भी है, इंडिया भी है, जापान है, यूके है, फ्रांस भी है. लेकिन 13 इंटरगवर्नमेंटल ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस भी हैं, 12 नॉन गवर्नमेंटल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन भी इसका पार्ट हैं. यूएन क्लॉज काम करता है डिस्प्यूट रिजोल्यूशन के लिए. और स्वालबार्ड ट्रीटी जो है 1920 की, दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. दिस आर्किपेलागो कम्स अंडर नॉर्वेज कंट्रोल unequivocally after this Svalbard Treaty. But this treaty also gave economic and other rights to other nations also. But they have to adhere to this Svalbard Treaty. So very important. India also adhered to this treaty in 1983, I guess. And then India went to establish basically a point there on a observation center there on the starboard. So we had this involvement through this treaty. In 2008, we established this Himadri base in the Svalbard island in the Norway, and we had this National Center for Polar and Ocean Research, NCPOR. It conducts basically different studies of climate patterns and everything. India's Arctic policy is also there, which has 7 pillars. These are very important. If it comes in your mains exam, that you must know these 6 pillars. So it is talking about almost everything. So you don't have to remember. You write whatever issues are there prevailing in the world. So if you read them nicely, see, strengthening India's scientific research and cooperation, climate and environmental protection, economic human development, transportation connectivity, governance, international cooperation, national capacity building in the Arctic region. So these are very logical, very prominent and eminent things that comes under India's Arctic policy. Then we have this very recent India Arctic Circle India Forum organized by the ORF with the finance ministry, with the external ministry and everything. They basically had a theme: the polar order, the Arctic and the Asia. Very strategic topic to discuss in this cooperation. So they want cooperation, basically Asia's growing role in the Arctic affair. They discussed that, and we have to have polar research cooperation and everything. Further, we have other side of the poles, that is Antarctica. It is beyond the Antarctic Circle. There is this Southern Ocean. Beyond that, we call it Antarctic Circle, and then there is Antarctica. So it incorporates the continent of Antarctica and surrounding waters in Southern Ocean. In 1959, we signed the Antarctica Treaty, and 57 members are not we, basically humans signed the Antarctica Treaty. In 1983, India joined it, and this treaty is very important because it excludes everybody to own anything in Antarctica, and only peaceful purposes this continent can be used. Scientific investigation and cooperation is there. You have to share every research that you do there. India's first expedition was in 1981. 1983 we signed this treaty. Research bases are there. Dakshin Gangotri is there, 1983-84. It is now a transit base camp. Then we have Maitri base, 1989. It is located in this oasis. We have Bharti base in 2012, located in the Larchiman Hills. There is this called Sagar Nidhi. This is India's commissioned the Sagar Nidhi ice class vessel to research in 2008. It cut through it became the first vessel to cut through the Antarctic oceans. We have this Act of 2023 which establishes India Antarctic Authority. It prohibits activities like excavation, drilling and everything. It also extends Indian court system to Antarctica. Basically, if anything happens there, Indian courts can have jurisdiction there. We have this PACER scheme. This basically tries to enhance and boost up the research towards polar regions. So, based on this discussion, try and attempt this question. We will jump to the next article. In the decoded section, let us discuss a little bit about the NGO, the issues associated with NGOs and foreign aid. This writer has written really nice article regarding the history of the funding of the NGOs. So, we will discuss this. In GS paper 2, under the roles of NGOs, this will come, and decline in the foreign aid we have witnessed recently. So, what are the reasons for this decline in the foreign aid? Is it good? Is it bad? What has been the history? What causes are leading to this? There have been a lot of PYQs on this issue, because clearly UPSC has mentioned NGOs and there are ethical issues are also involved in this. So, there was a lot of questions. So, read through these questions. So, what is the history? As per the article, there has been a history of foreign aid and aid to NGOs. These two sections I have divided. So, first and foremost, we started with a lot of foreign aid because we were a poor country. But gradually this foreign aid started reducing, and after the liberalization, this almost got dissipated. We do not have any significant amount in our overall budget or GNP, whatever you can call it. No significant amount is there for the foreign aid. This is regarding history of the foreign aid. Then history of the foreign aid for the NGOs. This is very important because this has a different trend. Basically, from 1960s onward, this declined. This declined from 1960s onward, and in 2013 when CSR came about and the mandatory nature of CSR came about, then this took a hit, and the companies, the CSR, this corporate social responsibility, started making a great contribution to this. If you look at the specific data, then 2017-18 to 21-22, NGOs received around 88.8820 million rupees. Sorry, not dollars, rupees. The amount has gone down considerably. Basically, it is saying that between 2017 and 18 and 21-22, 17, 18, 21, 22, we have seen a decline. So, if in prelims the question comes that foreign aid to NGOs have declined in past 5 years, then you say yes. Okay, then what was the role of NGOs? What is the role of NGOs in the developmental process? So, remember that NGOs are non-governmental organization which are not part of the government. They receive funds and they try to do work for people. They have great connectivity with people, they know the issues and they can implement things really nicely. That was the major role of NGOs, but there have been certain issues. So, there have been certain issues because of which this foreign funding to the NGOs have stopped, because they were sourcing a lot of fund from outside. This funding was very key for NGOs. Why? Because it was compensating to the meager government donations. So, NGO also get government for aids. गवर्नमेंट उनको देती है, पैसा देती है, बट वो बहुत कम रहता है. तो फॉरेन फंडिंग काफ़ी इंपॉर्टेंट थी, वो लो हो गई. अब फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी जो है वो नहीं थी. गवर्नमेंट की जो फंडिंग होती है दैट इज़ वेरी rigid, that okay, they say that okay, we are giving you fund to promote polio vaccination, but NGO may not want to work on that. NGO may want to work on something else. That came with foreign funding, but it has stopped. Now, build the capacity of Indian NGOs. So, foreign funding also came with certain best practices. That is now stopped. Allows NGOs to play as a watchdog role. When they were funded by foreign entities, they were less dependent on the government, and they can be a little bit upright and criticize the government initiatives. So, that was there, but this has gone down. So, this was the value of the foreign funding. Further, what are the concerns regarding the aid to NGOs? But the coin has the other side. These fundings were also coming up with certain challenges to India's sovereignty, political stability, religious stability, harmony, and everything. So you see, national security and sovereignty was a concern because projects like Kondakulam and other projects were being protested by these NGOs behest of other countries. Then we have this misuse of these funds, and there was lack of transparency. For example, Greenpeace was banned because of FCRA license basically suspended, alleged financial regulatory misappropriation in the foreign funds. Then FCRA non-compliance was witnessed in various NGOs. For example, Oxfam, it faced allegation that it was violating the various FCRA norms. Involvement into religious conversion and everything. So in Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, and tribal belt, a lot of missionary NGOs were trying to convert people. And on the economic projects, for example, Greenpeace का activism था माइनिंग के ऊपर, माइनिंग है एमपी में, वहाँ प्रोटेस्ट कर रहा था, तो इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटी को भी ये लोग हार्म कर रहे थे. अब रीजंस क्या बताए इस आर्टिकल में डिक्लाइन के? इस आर्टिकल में कहते हैं कि एम्बिवेलेंट एटीट्यूड जो है गवर्नमेंट का, मीनिंग दैट दे आर नॉट श्योर वेदर टू से यस और नो towards this foreign funding. So certain NGOs may get foreign funding, certain NGOs may not get foreign funding. So because of this uncertainty, this funding has reduced. Secondly, this is saying that restriction under FCRA are very stringent. This act basically have been amended a lot of time and have become more stringent, and several NGOs have also lost their licenses because of FCRA violations. Now, how we can regulate NGOs in a better manner? So first and foremost, we should strengthen the FCRA framework so that proper implementation can take place. Then also we have to have a centralized fund monitoring and an institutional mechanism to oversee all these NGOs and their activity. So that we can do. We can have independent audit also for this NGOs. Also we can have categorization based monitoring, that okay, if religious conversions are taking place, that you can categorize certain NGOs and then monitor. We can have centralized balancing regulation with rights. We can have this balancing that okay, you can have funds, but we have to also balance certain rights. Arbitrary cancellation cannot take place. All these things can be done. And also we can promote the domestic funding, that we can improve further the CSR norms. We can have better regulation towards the NGO funding. So based on that, we can conclude that regulation of foreign aid to the NGO is very important for national interest also, because NGOs are important arm of the government, of the, let's say, the dispensation, because they help government out and citizens out in a very important initiatives. Also we have to prevent the misuse and uphold the democratic freedom, and a balanced approach where we combine the legal provisions, institutional transparency and stakeholder consultation. Then we can have a proper healthy NGO ecosystem in India. Alright, based on this discussion, please try and attempt this practice question, and please let us know how this session has helped you in your preparation in the prelims or mains, or let's say overall current affairs. We will love to hear from you, and this is it for today. We will meet again. Thank you.